Guys, I've been busy. What's up, Tomboy Official? Oh, man. I feel pretty rested. It's Saturday, 5:15 p.m. 5:15 p.m. I got my dinner in the oven. It'll be done at 5:35-ish. I was watching a video. Let's see the name. And I'm drinking a what do you call this stuff? An emergency. I don't have any vitamins, and that is probably the best vitamin I can get. So I was watching a video by an African American gentleman with locks. His name is A Signified Podcast. He seems to do content in this Manosphere kind of content space. The video I watched was called Talking Manosphere Myths and Real Science-Based Dating/Mating Advice with @Murphy Mackin. And, I was watching it and I was mostly just thinking it would be great if there was like LGBT content and research based on, dating myths, mating myths. Is it even called mating? I don't even know what the term is. Do people say mating? Do people really use that word? That they're mating? Or finding a mate? Or like mating? I don't know. It sounds like something you'd say about animals. I don't know. Like mating rituals. But I can't really talk about manosphere because I'm not a man. I can talk to my cis straight friends about their dating experiences and their experiences as being cis straight men. Some of their I wouldn't call it concerns, but frustrations with dating cis hetero women, and some of my cis hetero women friends and their frustrations with dating cis hetero men. I don't think I've experienced the overlap that they've experienced. I think I hear from my cis male friends that are hetero daters. They do seem to like traditional women. Wife or girlfriend or whatever cooks, cleans, is feminine, and they have like a masculine role. I'm learning that in straight people's society, it is very hard for them to be flexible with roles. Nobody wants to give up their role. I had a cis hetero friend of mine when, I was on my way to work once and I blew a tire. Well, I guess let me back up. I was on my way to work, driving down maybe like the 805 freeway going south or something. I was driving from near Linda Vista to like Chula Vista, so kind of not far from SeaWorld to like Chula Vista, off like the Telegraph Canyon exit or L Street or whatever the exit was called. I don't even remember now. It's been so long, but it's been like almost 4 years. But I was doing that drive, just like I did every day. But before that, I noticed that I had inspected one of my tires, because I noticed when I would drive over like maybe 40, the car felt really wobbly, and I was like, that can't be good. And so after a while, I was like, let me just inspect the tires. So I looked at them, and one of them you could kind of see the wiring coming through, and I was like, oh no. And I noticed that it was a Wednesday when I noticed that, I think. And so I was like, okay, Thursdays I start work at noon, so I'm gonna wake up early, change out the tire, put on a donut. I knew that you can't drive that on the freeway, but I proceeded to try to drive as slow as I could on the freeway without drawing attention to myself. I think I was driving about 40 miles per hour, or maybe 45, which was too fast for the donut. I blew the donut, and then I still had the old tire that didn't actually blow. The old tire hadn't actually blown yet, and I was on my way to work. So I changed the tire back to the old, tire, because it was either get towed or use that old tire to, drive. And it was right where I would exit on the freeway. It was right at my exit. And so, I called 511. They couldn't come because I was on the exit ramp, so they didn't want to help me at all. And I was like, screw it, I'm gonna be late for work. I gotta get the tire situated. And I was working till 8 p.m. that night, so I was like, there's not gonna be a lot of opportunities to get tires after work. So I told them I'll be late for work. Because I was starting work at noon. So I was like, let me just stop by a place, get a tire, and roll on with the rest of my day. The first place I stopped at didn't have a tire. Right then, they said come back later. And so before the 5 p.m. mark, because I was still working till 8, I took a break at about 4, and I told them I'm probably going to be out for 1 or 2 hours, because I didn't know how long it was going to take. And so I drove the car. I did get to work late, drove the car back around 4 o'clock. Took a couple hours during my day, because I didn't have clients scheduled or anything. And I went, got the tire replaced. It took less than an hour, so I was like, well, I'm not going to go home because I'm already, working. I'm, down the street from my job. So I drove back to work, and they're like, oh, you're back already? I'm like, yeah. And I just worked. And one of my friends, this straight friend of mine was like, I can't believe you changed the tire. You know how to change a tire? And, I told her kind of how, I drive these old cars, so I just, make sure the oil's, topped off, and I just make sure there's oil in it. And I was like, that's not a big deal. Changing a tire is, a basic thing to me. Putting oil in, I wasn't even changing the oil. I was just adding oil. Basically, all it takes is lifting up the hood, checking the dipstick, unscrewing, I don't even know what you call it, the area where the oil goes into, putting oil into that hole, and then putting the cap, screw it back on, and make sure the dipstick is back into the section where it goes, and closing the hood of the car. That's all I would do, was put oil in it. I was not doing any other thing. It's just like refilling your wiper fluid. You just put fluid in the container and put the cap back on. It's pretty much as easy as pouring milk out of one jug and putting it into a pitcher or something. It's not that hard, it's just putting fluid from one container into another. I'm not scared of that. And having driven cars that are over 20 years old, it's you get familiar with old cars, and there's certain stuff that you just get sick of, batteries. I know how to use jumper cables. I know how to use a quick charge. I know how to check if the battery is low or not. I know how to take the battery out and replace the battery. It's heavy, but I can do it. I know how to ask at O'Reilly's or AutoZone for them to check my battery. And then they want to tell me that that the battery is okay, and I'll tell them no, it's not. Look at the readings. It's not okay. Don't try to tell me to put this battery back in my car when it's not charged. I know how to change tires because it's some things are just easier to do yourself. It's like if you're gonna eventually blow a tire, whether you're running over something or your tire just wears out, why not know how to do that yourself? You're gonna eventually need another battery. These are certain things that you're not gonna change out until they die or until they break on you. Like, usually you're not just gonna change out a battery. You're not usually just gonna change out a battery. Unless it's dead, right? Like, it's not like you can pre-plan it, because they last for like years. And so, like, when are you gonna change it? Like, every year change your battery or something? Like, I don't know, like, that, I don't think that would make sense. And certain things, I'm just like, those might be considered somewhat masculine things to do, but in my head, I'm like, it's practical to know how to do that kind of stuff. When you live in Southern California, if you have a car and you're an independent person, you are driving a lot. Why not know how to do the basic stuff? And I'm not like criticizing people who don't. I'm just saying, like, to me, it just made more sense to learn how to do the things that I saw always needed some doing. You always need an oil change, depending every 3 months or every 3,000 miles, or if it's synthetic, every 6 months to 6,000 miles. Why not know how to check if you need more oil? Even if you're not going to change it, why not make sure? I mean, your car needs oil, You can't just run around with no oil. It's going to damage your engine. So at least if you're not going to change it on time, or if you can't get there right on the dot, know how to put more oil in it. If your car's leaking oil, know how to put oil. If your car's leaking oil, get that fixed. But I mean, if you can't, say if you have to take like 3-4 days or a week till you can get it fixed, or same with the tire. Say you're so busy, or maybe even so broke, that you can't afford new tires because they're going to want 2 tires, not just the one. Then they want the alignment. It's going to run you hundreds of dollars for a tire that you could get used for $25. Know how to get a tire and just get a tire. Get a used tire if you have to, and make sure it fits, and have them do it at one of those shops. I mean, that'll get you through. And if you know how to change it, it's going to save you money on tow trucks. If you don't have AAA, at least you can drive your car to the place that can fix it for $25 versus something else. So I don't know. I don't know why I'm saying all this, but basically, I think that kind of stuff is the kind of stuff that a lot of my, cis, straight, hetero male friends, kind of maybe don't like about, like, some of the females that they date, is that they don't know how to do things. Like, I say, in my case, some of the stuff I know how to do is maybe like beyond what I might need. I'm not very great with cars or anything. I can't like fix an engine or whatever. I can just do like a few, like those 4 things that I mentioned. I can't really do that much. But for someone to think that's amazing is like, that's not amazing. Like, that's just basic survival skills, Just like you need to know where the sun sets. You need to know which way is east, which way is west. Like, these are like basic things, in my opinion. If you're gonna have something that you need for your work, for your survival, you should know at least some basics about it. If you have a laptop or a phone or whatever, you need to know, don't spill stuff on it, don't drop it, you know. And if you do spill something, what are the steps to make sure it doesn't get damaged as quickly as possible? What steps can you take? Just protective measures and basic, money saving, time saving, effort saving things. I don't like feeling useless or helpless about things. And I don't think it's a masculine quality, but I do think I don't like asking people for stuff too much. Like, we all know I haven't had the best of jobs. And so there were definitely times when I didn't have a lot of money to be getting a bunch of car repairs. And so I was like, okay, where can I save the money? And mostly you can spend over $100-something just on getting your car towed. If you don't know how to just change a tire basically for yourself, a new tire, one tire, like the whole thing, the whole service together can run you nearly $1,000 for 2 brand new tires with the warranty and the labor cost and the parts cost and the alignment. That's like $1,000 versus a used tire that you can change by yourself by driving your own car over there to get it without paying for a tow truck. You see what I mean? It's like, to me, it's like when I did the math, I was like, it makes more sense for me to learn this skill. Plus, it did become like a comfort thing for me. Just knowing that I was going to be driving all over the place all the time, and like, I at least know how to do basic stuff. A couple basic things. I could have learned more basic stuff, but I used the skills before. And what is there a benefit? Is there a benefit to, crossing gender roles? I think there is. If somebody's going to get insecure about it, that is not your fault. Now, trying to do it for like a power dynamic, I think that's different. Like the power battles that you see with people sometimes have nothing to do with, like the power battles that you see are kind of more I don't know, they're more from like an ego and insecurity kind of thing. I don't think there's any need for like the whole competition of things. But I do want to dive into some of these topics about incels. It's a word I just learned, INCELS. And then this other topic about the Manosphere, and this other kind of combined topic about, what happens in the LGBT environments, because there's so many different layers. I mean, these guys are just like masculine hetero cis guys. They don't have too many variables shifting of the types of people that they're dating either, and so it's easy for them to talk about it. They're not like poly, they're not pan, they're not gender non-conforming. They're very like in these rigid boxes. So I kind of want to see what it looks like to take those kind of boxes, and if you open them up in the LGBTQ plus environment, what does it look like? I don't know if I'm even going to be able to articulate ideas around these topics, but it's the month of March, It has been for almost 2 whole days now. We're the second day in, coming up on the night of the second day. And, we're coming up on a new week. On the second day of the new month. Time change is coming this month. We got some holidays coming up. I don't know if you guys are still working on your health, on your fitness. I'm still working on it. But, as people are trying to tweak things with their health, I think we need to talk more about social topics too. Because, topics like attractiveness, topics like, we've talked some about finance, education, career, jobs, side hustles. But I kind of want to talk more about like the social stuff, the dating stuff, because it comes up. A lot of people want to date. I'm not saying a lot of people want to date me. I'm just saying in general, a lot of people have interest in trying to date or struggle with it. One thing I'm going to throw out there is that not always, but it seems like a common theme that on the female side of things, women can be more passive. So if you take like a lesbian bar, there's always kind of this joke of the few lesbian bars that there are, that women don't really go approach each other because they don't want to make other women feel uncomfortable, because they know what it's like in a cishet environment, and they don't want women get so scared of making other women uncomfortable that they just don't approach them. So maybe that's the first thing I kind of want to talk about. But I'm gonna watch some more of these videos too and see if more comes out of it. We shall see. Alright guys, so what I want to do is talk some more about this Manosphere. I hate that word. I want to talk about that topic, but want to try to pull in some LGBT relevance. If I can find research, I'll look. I'm very busy doing other things, so if I can't find stuff quickly, I might not be able to find a whole bunch of like research studies. I really don't know. I've never looked it up. When I first started this podcast, there was a YouTube video that I made on Tomboy Official. This is like years ago, probably like 2019 or something. And I remember my mom came across it and it made me uncomfortable, so I just never posted on YouTube. Like, I don't know how she was recommended my channel or something, or maybe I somehow had my name linked to her or something, or maybe she Google searches me, or I don't know. But pretty much she commented on it, and then I realized I don't think I could like block her, and then I was like, dang, because I had originally planned to make a YouTube channel, because at the time I was still really into like scientific research. It's something I'm still into, but I fall in and out of it depending what I'm studying. But many people know, if you're able to keep track of my career path history. Initially, I did go to school and get a master's in psychology, experimental psychology, but I was studying more like language acquisition, auditory perception, like just pretty much anything around hearing sciences, as it relates to, like, my interests were mostly in language and music, but I didn't get too far into it past my master's, but I would still geek out on stuff. But I do understand like how to collect data and write, peer-reviewed articles, and how to publish, and I had some things an abstract published. I never fully published my master's thesis outside of my university's library. But anyways, I'm gonna post this as a double episode. So at the moment when I'm talking, this is the morning, the morning after I started that kind of intro. I'm gonna post these back to back, because I do want to start off with my little morning check-in and then get back into kind of this topic, and want to cover kind of what I researched last night. Now it was very research related. One was an episode where this guy was interviewing a trans woman, and then the other one was an episode where the same guy was interviewing a researcher. I don't remember his type of research. I think is generally called like relationship relationship research. I don't know if it's in the field of psychology or like some kind of social sciences field. So yeah, I want to jump into that, kind of what they talked about. I didn't take notes, so it's going to be a little rocky for me to like pull topics from there, but we're going to jump into it. I think it's valuable for people who are interested in topics surrounding like dating and relationships. And then they have this topic of incels and red pill, blue pill, and people, you see a lot of videos like Fresh and Fit, Andrew Tate, people that they almost seem like they don't like women. They're usually these cis straight men that are just kind of like they have women on their podcasts, and they're just like trying to like prove them wrong, and like they're not treating them very nicely either. I mean, it's very, when I've seen that material, I'm very turned off by it. I'm like, oh, like they're like, I mean, maybe those women are getting paid to be on there. A lot of them are OnlyFans entrepreneurs. I just gotta say, like, anybody who's trying to make money on OnlyFans, and your product is um, your body maintenance and your fitness and your attractiveness, and you're putting yourself out there like that. That is a form of vulnerability that I appreciate it, and also I just like. I mean, OnlyFans serves a purpose, you know. I think it's become, you know, I'm not talking about the side of it where people are doing it where they don't want to do it, but the side of it where people are willingly doing it because they know it's going to make them money. I applaud those people, you know, like you found an entrepreneurial avenue that works for you, and I think it is very, I don't know if it's more females than males. I really don't know. From the stuff I've searched, I've rarely searched any males on there. The only males I've searched were certain like gay males, just because somebody would say, "Oh, here's their content" or whatever. Like, there's a lot of like adult performers. I don't know what you call them, but they're basically porn stars, you know. And but I do like to hear their interviews, and I just like that a lot of them are very open-minded sounding. I've talked about it before. I'm a fan of Blake Mitchell and Joey Mills and those kind of guys that came out of Helix, and um, you know, um, I find that they have some admirable qualities to them. Like, and they seem like their personalities are kind of like pretty authentic and personable and open-minded. I mean, they kind of have to be if they're doing certain things. I did see some of the guys at what's it called, at Vegas Pride. This must have been not last year, so it wasn't 2023. It might have been 2022 or 2021. Probably 2022, I want to say, because I feel like 2021 everything was probably closed. So let's call it 2022. And there was like this area where they had performers with this kind of outdoor amphitheater and I saw some of the guys walking up with their Helix Studio shirts on, and they were walking like past the stage. And I don't know if they were actual performers or if they just bought it, bought the shirts as merch. I don't really know, but I was very like, I've usually liked their content. They promote, body positivity, sexuality positivity, just all kinds of things that like it's just refreshing to hear. Certain people talk about things where you're just like, it's not coming from some weird place like those Andrew Tate types of people that are like, we hate women, or like let's make them feel bad or put them in their place kind of thing on camera. It seems like they kind of have a bit of a complex about those women, or they feel threatened or something. That's kind of what it feels like when I watch that content. And then there's other religious content that a lot of times goes to some other end of like shame and, just stuff that's like, why do people want to make people feel bad about relationships and attraction? And it really gets in the way. And so, I think it's important to talk about the topics, but I don't really, it's hard to really know where to go because there's so much. So that's kind of why I feel like, okay, something that's commonly being consumed right now is this Manosphere content. Something that's missing from that is the LGBT conversation. And there's going to be toxic stuff everywhere, I'm noticing, and being able to identify it is going to be important. And I'm not trying to make some kind of toxic thing. I hope that the content I make isn't toxic. I mean, I know sometimes it's like, okay, like if I'm just not feeling great, I'll say it. And I've been through a pretty trying time, where things just aren't really working out the way I would prefer, or my energy just isn't where I need it to be so that I could do the things that I need to do, especially the things I don't want to do. That's definitely a struggle that comes up for me, where it's like, part of me is like, I know I need to do this. I need to eat healthy. I need to cook food from home. I need to spend less money. I need to exercise more. And then there's another part of me that's just like, dude, we do not have the energy to do this, like, and there's another part of me that's like, you need to do it, because you're not going to have the energy if you don't do it. Like, that's where you're going to get your energy. So it's this kind of like, I gotta get to a place sometimes where I gotta force myself to do the things I need to do to get things back on track. So you guys do get to hear about that, unfortunately. But it's like, if I'm sharing about my day, what else am I gonna say? Like, if that's the reality of a lot of my days sometimes, and it's not all the time, I've definitely come out of it a bit during this year. It was just rough with my back injury and all these other things. I've never had an injury that's taken me out for more than like a week, maybe. I think COVID was the thing that took me out for almost 2 weeks, both times when I had it, but that's probably the most that I've ever been kind of out of commission because of sickness or injury. So having something that lasted like 2 months, like that was not an experience that I was expecting, or that I wasn't hoping to start my year out like that, or to end last year like that. But anyways, I'm gonna try not to talk about it all the time, but I mean, it is the reality. It's kind of like, there's this balance between like, okay, do I talk about the reality, or do I just ignore it and talk about things that are like happy and shiny? But that's why I like to do like at least some kind of check-in, and then we'll get into a topic. It's not all going to be check-ins all the time. Sometimes that's all it is, because I don't really have a topic. But now that I kind of have a bit of a topic and it's a new month, I don't know if I'm going to do this topic for the whole month. I'll see how you guys gravitate towards it. I'll see how I feel studying it. If it feels like it creates some kind of benefit, then I'll keep recording about it. If it doesn't, then maybe I'll just do it every now and then. I don't know if I'll be posting every day this month. I have no idea what I'm doing. I'll figure it out. But I'm kind of gonna wing it this week, and see where things land. And so, all right, I'm gonna post the check-in and then post the research findings with like after the check-in. This is just an intro about what we're gonna talk about during the month of March, at least during this portion of the month of March. I don't know if I'm gonna get into any of the actual holidays during March. They're not really holidays that I care about that much, but all right, let's do it. And all right, so if you are interested, click into the next episode. You know, man.